What's up, people? Welcome to episode 2 of the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. My name's Scott.
My name's Deeb.
Let's hit the intro. Welcome back for those returning listeners. Do you want to tell anybody who's new here what we're all about at the Single Barrel Sports Podcast?
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 2, Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started with this. So we're two buddies who used to live right down the road, but now live states away. Two guys who really love sports and have been friends for a little while, love talking about sports, love watching sports, playing sports, etc., and also share a love for bourbon. So trying to kind of, mix that in with some themes and, just have a weekly podcast to talk about what the hell happened in sports each week and some fun stuff.
Yep. And I think one of the things that's really notable here is that we don't consider ourselves to be super experts. We're here talking about the casual sports experience as sports fans because that's what we are. We're casual sports fans that like just watching and talking about game.
We're armchair quarterbacks, as the saying goes. Oh, Scott used to be a real quarterback, but now he's an armchair quarterback.
Listen, 4 knee surgeries ago, I was out there slinging the football, but that time is long gone.
Yeah. So, in the beginning of this, I know we talked about, like last time we did our intro, we kind of told people about who we were in episode 1. So if you're interested in that, maybe it's your first time tuning in, be sure to check that out. We also have an intro video. We tried to split it off. So it's only like 15 or 16 minutes to learn about us. But I think we kind of wanted to start this out too with like, just catching up, right? More on like a personal level, just kind of seeing how things are going, etc. So Scott, what's going on? What's new? Anything exciting going on this week or upcoming weekend? I know we're kind of closing in on the holidays coming up.
Yeah, no, it's a very busy season, as I'm sure it is for many people out there. What's new? I mean, we're just prepping for the holiday season, and we are hosting it at our house this year. So this will be the first time since I left, really, for my residency way back in 2017. Be the first time that we're having Christmas at our home. My wife and I, Raven, and Parker, our son, and then my mom is here, and my brother is actually flying out. So, obviously, I know, Deep, you know this, but we used to travel to either Missouri or Ohio to kind of do family Christmases. One or the other would kind of alternate each year. But with the move and how long it took for us to get all of our belongings and get settled, we're going to take it easy. We've got in just a couple of days, an 8-month-old baby, and we decided not to travel. But what's up with you, man? How you been doing?
Well, before I talk about how I'm doing, I want to say, that sounds like something that's maybe hopefully a relief. I know you guys have had a lot of stuff going on, with your move. And like you had mentioned, hadn't received your stuff from your moving company for quite some time. So I know you've been trying to settle in there. So sounds like you guys are, maybe going to have more relaxed style holiday this upcoming Christmas.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. I mean, I know a lot of people were checking in on us and making sure we were okay. And we have had a couple of people that really helped us. Our neighbors gave us like a TV and, like a fold out table. For those listening that don't know the story, my wife and I moved to North Carolina just about 2 months ago, little less than 2 months ago. And we went nearly 4 whole weeks without all of our belongings. So we were sleeping on air mattresses, sitting on the floor, sitting on camping chairs, with a small child, 6 months old at the time, or 7 months old. So yeah, it's been an adventure, but we're pretty settled now.
That's crazy, man. That's really crazy. I'm glad you guys are getting settled. And yeah, for me, nothing too crazy. Same sort of thing. I had a couple of work trips. So for those of you that don't know, I do travel for the work that I do. And so I was actually in Florida last week. I was down in Tampa, which was nice. A little bit warmer weather from where I'm living in Michigan. It was snowing here while I was traveling there. I got a early Christmas present. So I know we were talking a little bit about this last week with our interest, but I got the one of those VR headsets, like those Quest Meta headsets. So have been kind of just exploring that world, and I actually I installed a golf game, like it's like a golf simulator game, and my wife was actually playing it tonight, which was really funny. I caught a Snapchat video of that, but she was like, "This is actually really cool. Like I didn't know what this was, like how this like gaming system works and stuff, but it's pretty legit, man. Like you legit feel like you're there. It's almost like weird. It's a very like interesting way to play video games.
I can just imagine her playing with the VR headset and doing some golf. That sounds amazing. But the other thing, those headsets in general they're crazy. I've heard of people like wanting to watch like a WWE Royal Rumble or something, right? And like
Yeah.
in the headset, you can like put yourself in a different setting to watch it. Like it's really kind of cool and crazy and kind of
Yeah.
scary too at the same time. All the stuff you can do with that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They have some cool sports features. So you can like sit courtside at like NBA games and watch like replays. You can be like in the stands for football. So yeah, I don't know. It's like an interesting, I don't know, they're really building a lot of that stuff out. But outside of that, yeah, same thing, preparing for holidays. I'm getting ready to travel back over to spend some time with family early next week. So nothing too crazy, just the usual.
Nice. Well, I know it's cold and snowy up there, so hopefully safe travels with all of that. And I know you'll see the boys and
Yeah.
to tell them I said hello. I'm sure I know
Yeah.
some of them are checking out the pod. So what's up, everybody? It's good to
Yeah.
hear from you on our socials. And one of these days, I'll come back up north and hang out with you guys again soon.
Yeah, we got some good feedback. So I know some of the boys have been giving us feedback, so I appreciate that as well. So you want to hop into the weekly recap so we can start chatting about sports?
Yeah, I think before that, let's a natural segue. We're talking about the feedback is that we've got a lot of social media that we use right now, and
Yeah.
we are looking to hear from everybody. We're just kicking this off. There's some trial and error involved, and we're focused on having a good time with it too. But we want to make sure we include everybody and kind of hear what other people are interested in. So please, if you haven't yet, check our website out, singlebarrelsports.com. You can subscribe at that website to join our email list, which will help us kind of communicate when new episodes drop. We're not going to overuse that. But we're also on other platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok. And then the full length episodes are going to be on YouTube and Spotify if you haven't seen that yet. I know you're watching this somewhere. I know last episode we did mention Apple. And I just want to say we're actually not on Apple. We're
Yeah.
right now solely on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, and that might be something that we'll explore in the future. Apple's a little bit different in terms of, I think it's audio only. I'm almost positive. I don't know that they actually offer video. But yeah, we're just, I think, going to try to stick to YouTube and Spotify for now, see how that goes. And then if there's opportunity, maybe we'll expand to some other platforms out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, great call out on the website, social media. I've enjoyed interacting with people, posting stuff. So looking forward to continue to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about that too in our community call outs section. So we can move into the weekly recap. I got a little bit ahead of myself, but first topic, probably one of the hottest topics. Of course, we have to revisit this because it's something that we talked about. We posted on social media. We were trying to, make some predictions, maybe give our opinions, kind of try to hear from other people too, but Heisman winner reaction. So as we saw, I think it was, what night was it? Was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday night. This past weekend, the Heisman race was decided, and they did select Travis Hunter as the Heisman candidate winner. So congratulations to Travis Hunter. Definitely thought, he's a very unique player, interesting player, plays both sides. Can definitely, I think, see why he would be a top person and a winner for the candidate. But I think we wanted to, well, number one, just wanted to get your reaction, Scott, on what you thought based on our discussions. And then I think we were going to show some stat comparisons and some voting comparisons to maybe, elicit some discussion about
Yeah. Yeah, we can visualize some of that. And I think one of the main things here is that I think many of us expected Travis Hunter would win the Heisman. Based upon our social media polling and our conversation last week, I think we thought Ashton Genty should have gotten the Heisman. But I think what it boils down to, and this is my personal opinion here, is that we had two people this year who should win the Heisman. I don't have an issue with Travis Hunter winning the Heisman. and congratulations to him, by the way. Um, but we may not see another Ashton Genty again for decades. And so it's just a shame that it was the same year that we had to make this tough of a decision. I would have probably still gone with Genty, but we have two really solid players here, and I'm really looking forward to following both their careers into the NFL as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I did want to share, give me just a second here.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to try to pull this up here. The interesting part too, and I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about this, but I think part of our reasoning, that we were agreeing on this was just looking at the sheer stats, right? And I mean, like when you talk about the Heisman race, like there's a lot of factors that they look at.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show this post by CFB Kings. It's just interesting. So like Genty, they play different positions, but I mean, Genty was first in every category that generally speaking matters for his position. I mean, Travis Hunter, again, I know he played both receiver and cornerback, but 6th in receiving yards, 5th in receptions, 2nd in touchdowns, and 17th in INTs, which, obviously he plays, that they have like that snap count or whatever, that I know some people were kind of making fun of, but I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you're literally ranked first in this many categories in your position, like how does a committee pass on that? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some other stats about him compared to Genty compared to other Heisman winners that are running backs, and his stats like blew them away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the definition of a snub when you look at just the stats on paper. I mean, he would have won this Heisman Trophy any other year. We don't really typically think of snaps as a major statistic, but if you're thinking about value to the team, you got a guy that's playing nearly 100% of the plays at a high level on offense and defense. I can understand why you would think that would be, if we call it like most valuable player, for example,
Yeah.
why there would be some value there. For me, I think the tough thing here is really, Ashton Genty led his team into the playoffs and even has a first round bye in the college football playoffs. Travis Hunter and his team are on the couch watching. So,
yeah. So, I mean, do you think that the race is really about, like, what do you think it boils down to? Because, like, I've heard people say that the race is about the best player, not the best team. If their team does great, it doesn't all, like, you know what I mean? Because you could make a case for, well, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's on Oregon. They didn't lose a game. So like they're the best team and he could potentially be one of the best players. I don't know. Like, is there a science to like how they
no,
select? I just kind of,
I think
it
history
seems a
is
little more subjective, right?
Yeah, I think history has shown us there's absolutely not a science. And it does feel like sometimes it's about being the best at your position, the best in the country, or being on the opposite is being, on the best team. It's tough, right? Winning is a stat, but it's not an individual stat. It's a team stat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I just said, I don't think Boise State's in the playoffs without Ashton Genty. So that obviously means he's very valuable to his team, but they're both valuable. I just think, in my opinion, I think Genty would have been my pick.
So this is the voting, according to Adam Schefter. And I mean, if you just look at the margin of victory, like it was a close race.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was not like what we've seen in the past. This is a pretty close race here.
Yeah, it's as he says in the post there, it's the closest margin since 2009. That's 15 years. And if you looked at the betting odds prior to this, it would have been pretty certain Hunter would win, which he did.
Yeah.
But based upon the betting odds, you might have thought he would have won by more.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird thing. I think a lot of the Heisman votes, if I've read this correctly, come from members of the media. The media is obviously very high on Colorado with Coach Prime and Shador and everything going on out there. So there may be a little bit of bias there. We'll call it what it is. But at the end of the day, these are two people who both deserve to win. And unfortunately for Genty, he had a historic season that just happened in the wrong year.
Yeah. I don't know. My opinion, I think he got snubbed. I think you're right. Like the media is just, they are just way too into Deion Sanders and their family. Like it's a little bit weird, to be honest with me. I don't know how to explain it. something about it doesn't sit right. It's just weird. Like that's the
It is
best
weird.
way I can explain it. It's like somebody deserves something based on their, like the statistics, the play, etc. But then it's like this other person has an aura and is well known, so they get like people in their area get preference.
It's like the
I don't know.
Conor McGregor effect, right? Like Conor
Yeah.
McGregor, he makes way more money in his UFC fights than most other UFC fighters. And while he is very good, just like these members from Colorado are,
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever say he was the top person in the sport. And so it's an interesting thing. He's a money draw. He's getting
Mhm.
all the media's focus and attention. He brings some views to the sport. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of that carries over to a Heisman voting, but I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some personal bias that is there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Well, anyways, I mean, what you gonna do? I think you want to talk about this next one. I think this one's probably one that hits home with you. And we touched a little bit on this player last week, but got some news, an update on this one.
Yeah, after we talked about LeBron, and primarily kind of talked about Bronny last week, but LeBron James did take some time away from basketball. He he took some personal time, is what it was called. I've also seen that he was dealing with a foot injury, but at the end of the day, I mean, the headlines were calling it personal time.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. LeBron, he returned. He came back Sunday night. He put up, I think, an 18-point game, obviously with some other stats as well. They did win, largely off of Anthony Davis scoring 40. But, it's interesting, right? Because you got, in my opinion, probably, I know this is controversial, but probably the greatest player of all time that has ever played the game. He's about to turn 40. Like, I think this month he turns 40 years old.
Hmm.
And he sat out for 2 games, talking about kind of like some physical soreness, citing mental well-being. And this is a guy who's known for his durability, right? He tries to play in all 82 games. And yeah, I don't know. Let's hear your thought. Let's hear your initial thoughts on that.
I mean, I think he's probably, again, agree to disagree. I think he's probably the second greatest basketball player of all time. I'm definitely on the Michael Jordan train. I know that if we look at things objectively and, consider statistics, yes, LeBron is going to have certain statistics and, scoring records and things like that. I mean, I think Jordan also has things on LeBron like championships, MVPs, etc. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth. So, in my opinion, I'm on the team Jordan train. I don't know. I mean, the fact that he's 40 and he's still playing is still kind of crazy to me, just in general. Like, it just shows durability in a general sense that redefines like what people in that sport from a professional level have done. You don't really see many players who are that age play that long.
Yeah.
Just number one. The fact that he took a break and, talked about physical soreness and mental well-being, like, I mean, I get it. Like he's old, he's older for the sport that he plays. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, it's almost one of those things where it's like, if you're a professional athlete, people pay money to come and see you play, right? So like you make your earnings in many ways, but it's like people pay to come and see you play. Fans come to see you play, and obviously I think you want to take care of yourself so that you're not hurting yourself long term. But it's almost like LeBron was just like, hey, by the way, I want to take a PTO day because like I'm a little bit sore today. I don't know. It is weird. Like I get it from a sense of course, everybody needs days off. I do get that, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, man. Like you really want to win another championship. Like why wouldn't you just be done if you have to take time off for soreness and stuff like that? I don't know. I have kind of like mixed feelings about it, but curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, okay, I think there's a couple of thoughts that I have here. He is turning 40 this month. Our bodies don't hold up forever, and we typically see in other sports, and even in basketball, like you kind of are coasting along, and then it's not like it's more common for there to be a cliff that people fall off of. Like their production just goes right off the other side of a cliff. It's very rare that we see kind of a slow degradation of their production.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what I would like to believe here, and what I think is hopefully a good service to the fans in this case, yeah, you don't want to pay money to go to a game in LA out of all places. It has to be so expensive to go to see a game in LA.
Yeah.
And and then not have, LeBron James on the court. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you think he's number one, number two, or number three, like it doesn't matter. He's one of the greatest players that's ever been on the court. You want to see
Right.
him live when you go to see that team, and you pay to go see him. I
Yep.
get that. But if you're a true fan of the Lakers and this man is a little banged up, even if it's not bad, if he can preserve himself to be at a top level for the full season, you know, I think that's okay. Pitchers, they don't pitch, starting pitchers don't pitch every game.
Yeah.
Baseball batters, while they do play most games, they get a game off here and there. If there's an issue here, I think it's more of a scheduling issue than anything, where these guys are asked to play, sometimes 3 games a week.
Yeah.
And a very cardio intensive game. I mean, you've played basketball, so it's not like baseball is one. This might be controversial, but in baseball, you're not out there. I mean, but basketball is a cardio load, man. Like when
Oh
you're
yeah.
playing hard competitive basketball, you're burning.
Yep.
Baseball, you get breaks in between. It's a slower paced game, so I think it would be crazy to not expect players to take breaks, but it does suck as a fan to go there and experience that gap without them.
Yeah. I don't know though. I mean, man, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Like, how much money does he make per game or per minute or whatever? Like, I've seen some of
Fair.
their stat. I don't. It's like one of those points where, like, obviously you want to humanize things. Like, he's a human, of course, he's gonna need rest, etc. But it's also like you get paid millions of dollars to play basketball. I don't know. In a weird sense, like, part of me feels for him as a human, and part of me is kind of cold to be like, you make millions of dollars, like, you really need to take a day off because you're sore. I don't know. Unless you're like legit injured, like you're hurt and you have to sit out. Like, taking a day for mental health.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to see both.
What you're talking about too is a mindset, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't hear about any athletes really taking days off because of needing a mental reset or, well-being rest.
Yeah.
Maybe you should though. Like, some people's careers have like taken a sudden turn and just gone down the toilet. And I feel like maybe if they just took a second to recharge, they could have got their mind right, and then their body would have been ready to follow. I don't know. I would love to hear from people listening to this, kind of what your thoughts are on taking, he missed a couple of games. His team probably needed him for those couple of games.
Yep.
So what are the general thoughts about taking days off? And
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that, because it's a novel thing in sports.
Yeah. I mean, and again, not to poke at this, but I think if you asked Michael Jordan if he would have taken a day off for a mental reset, he would have laughed in your face. He would have been like, my opponents need to take days off because they need to mentally prepare to play for me. Like, that's just what I'm saying. They just have very different mental philosophies, I think. And obviously different time era, different type of atmosphere, environment, etc. But like, he just has that killer mindset where I just feel like it's just like night and day in a weird way.
Well, and I think I agree I think it's an ego. They both have egos, but in very different ways. Michael Jordan's ego was that I'm the best there ever was, and nobody will tell me otherwise, and I'll never stop trying to prove it.
Yeah.
LeBron's ego is I'm the best there ever was, and I will keep proving it by being smart.
Yeah.
By preserving my body, by playing at a high level. He's 40 years old, and he still is a superstar. He won King of the Court. Do you know what King of the Court is?
I've heard of it. I'm not as familiar, but
just like a month or two ago, King of the Court is, on any given night, the player that had the most points, assists, and rebounds on that night. And he recently won that at the age of 39. Like, that's nothing to slouch at. But I think it's just a difference of philosophy, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's won a championship with 3 different teams, man. That's pretty dope. You can talk about 6 wins and no losses or whatever you want to talk about, but we have a guy here who has pretty much smashed every single major statistical concept in a basketball game, and he's still playing at a high level. It's just hard to believe he's had the career that he's had.
Yeah. I mean, I give him credit for playing at a high level, like, for as long as he has. I will give him credit for that. I just, in my opinion, again, I look at some other pieces to it as well. But no, I mean, I give him credit. I'm not discrediting him, and I think he's top 2, top 3. Like, no doubt. There's no question on that.
Well, we can blame Bronny for his mental issues, right? Hey, but check this out. Bronny, he's playing in the G League again. He had his first 30-point game. I know it's the G League,
Yeah.
but over 3 games, he was averaging like 20.7 or something. So, like,
Yeah.
that's a lot better than what things were looking like. Who knows? Maybe he also needed a mental reset.
I don't know. Yeah. It is what it is. But all right. So move into let's move into NFL. So we can just kind of go through. We don't need to do anything too in depth, but maybe we just kind of go through the games, scores real quick, and then we can maybe talk about some that were a little bit more exciting or something happened. So we had Thursday night football. We had the Rams and the 49ers. Rams won in a weird 12-6 matchup. Nothing exciting there. That was kind of an odd game.
Two of the best offenses in the league, no touchdowns. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, in my fantasy league, I sat Deebo Samuel and picked up Xavier Worthy from the Chiefs, and he went off. So,
Wow.
Yeah, big win for me there on that move.
Yeah.
Sunday games, we had Ravens, Giants, Ravens 35, Giants 14. Nothing new here, right? Lamar just kind of torched him with what he's been doing all year and, kind of making a name for himself in the MVP race.
Listen, man, we talked about MVP with Lamar, and last week we kind of both said we probably would have Josh Allen a little bit ahead of him. And Lamar must have heard our podcast because he came out with a 5-touchdown dominant performance. But we'll talk more about Josh Allen in a bit. Let's move on.
We had another kind of interesting matchup. Jets, Jaguars, again, 2 flop teams for the year, but 32-25, Jets won. Nothing crazy there. I mean, both these teams are, at this point just fighting for who's going to get the better draft pick. Commanders, Saints, very close game. Commanders won, which is good for their playoff, I think, hopes, kind of trying to keep in there. And I guess there was, I didn't watch this game, but there was some sort of late game clock controversy. I didn't really see what happened there.
Well, I can kind of talk. There were 2 major things that happened at the end of that game. First of all, the Commanders had the ball. It was a second down, and the Saints only had 1 timeout left with I think it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. They made a bold decision. They threw the ball, actually caught the ball, great catch. But there was a holding penalty. They called it back, and all that got erased, and the time stopped. And they ended up having to punt the ball. Saints got the ball, and they made it all the way down. I don't know, so maybe it's the 2-yard line ish.
Yeah.
And that's where this thing happened with the game clock. So basically, what happened was, I think there were 9 seconds left, maybe, as they were rushing up to the line, or maybe it was 11 seconds, but it froze. The clock stopped ticking at 9 seconds, and I was reading an article about this. I think that they clocked it as it froze for 2.7 seconds.
Oh,
and then they hiked the ball. They threw a touchdown when there was 3 seconds left. So that 2.7 seconds, depending on how a referee interpreted it, they might have not gotten that playoff, but they did because the clock malfunctioned.
Huh.
Now, it didn't matter because the Saints, in all of their infinite wisdom with the way their season's going, they went for 2 after the touchdown, and they didn't get it, so the Commanders still won.
Oh,
but if they would have gotten that 2-point conversion, the Commanders would have probably been in an uproar about that game clock. Here's the fun fact. I learned this week. You can add time to a clock. It is literally written into the rules that even if you review it, you're not allowed to remove time from it. That's an actual NFL rule. And so even when they reviewed it and saw there was a mistake, they were literally not allowed to take that time off of the clock.
Wow. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yep. Crazy.
Well, so I mean, the Commanders pulled it out. I guess a controversial, but didn't really impact the ending of the game per se at that time. We had another interesting battle, Bengals Titans, which both teams also have been struggling. Bengals 37, Titans 27. I think the Titans were actually winning this one early on, and then the Bengals kind of made a comeback. Nothing crazy there. We will talk about this game because it was part of the bet that we had put out there. And I thought that this was going to be the game that, caused the bet to lose that parlay. We had Texans Dolphins 20-12. So again, that's actually a more important matchup. Dolphins probably try to, continue to make their playoff run. And I think Texans are kind of on that bubble-ish, maybe. They maybe could make the playoffs still. So
they're sitting pretty right now because of this win. This win could have complicated things if they lost.
Yeah. Chiefs Browns, a very lopsided matchup, 21-7. Chiefs won. Something interesting about this, the uh, Patrick Mahomes now has the most touchdowns, which was 254 before the age of 30 in NFL history. So he ended up having 2 touchdowns, I believe, and he passed Hall of Fame QB Peyton Manning for the most touchdowns before turning 30. So interesting stat. He's obviously a really great quarterback, but didn't realize that he was breaking records in this game. And I think he also kind of got hurt, right? Like something with his ankle.
He did, and the NFL memery is already they're already kind of memeing it, saying it's his every year his annual late season injury before he goes into the playoffs.
Getting
Patrick Mahomes limped off the field. If I recall, didn't finish the game. Obviously because they were up by 14 and he didn't need to.
Yeah.
But he had a full practice earlier this week, so I think he's fine. I think we'll be seeing him suiting up again this weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the usual, like you said.
Another thing for the Chiefs, though, while we're talking about Mahomes, is he's been kind of limited on his weapons all season.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown has had full practices this week, so he might be making it. I think he's going to make his comeback this weekend, so he's something to watch.
Right in time for the playoffs. Lucky them.
Yeah.
Other games, we had Cowboys Panthers, another kind of deflated whatever match. Cowboys won 30-14. Patriots Cardinals. Cardinals pulled out with this 30-17. Again, Patriots are really struggling. Cardinals are still kind of, I think, trying to make a run. I don't remember what their record is, but I feel like they're in the
They are 7-7. Yeah, they're a game behind LA.
So they're in the bubble, right? They're kind of in that maybe could make it, but
they're a team that's probably not going to catch a wild card, but they still have a chance at their division. They're one game behind both Seattle and the Los Angeles Rams. So, they got a shot still.
Okay, gotcha. Buccaneers, Chargers. Buccaneers actually kind of smacked the Chargers around 40-17. I know Baker went off. They kind of smoked them. I was actually really surprised that it was that lopsided. I thought that was going to be a better game.
That one was very close for the first half. It was very close, and then the Bucs just exploded in the second half.
Yeah. I will talk about the game of the week in just a second, but we had Colts 13, Broncos 31, and Broncos are just killing it. I know we have some clips we're going to show from that game that were pretty interesting. Broncos defense killing it, man. Bo Nix, rookie of the year. I called it.
He just might be. Yeah, he just might be.
Let's go. Steelers Eagles, another lopsided match, a grudge match. That's I know rivals there. Philadelphia 27, Pittsburgh 13. I know that was one game you picked the Steelers and I picked the Eagles.
Yep. I lost for the week.
Packers Seahawks 30. Packers Seahawks 13. I don't know that that's necessarily a surprise. I mean, the Packers have been playing pretty well. The Seahawks have been trying to stay alive, but they've been kind of.
Yeah. It's a big game for the Seahawks to win, and they didn't. But if they would have, then they would have been actually leading the NFC West. So they kind of dropped the ball when the pressure was on.
And did Geno Smith get hurt in this game?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Like he got hurt. So, I mean, that's not
pretty
good.
Big time. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's not good for them. Game of the week I'm going to cover last. I know I said I was going to cover that, but I think that's the most exciting game we had. So Monday Night Football, Vikings, Bears. Vikings kind of smoked them. I mean, I thought the coolest part of that whole thing was the Vikings honoring Randy Moss with the jersey and, his fight for cancer and Justin Jefferson's touchdown celebration.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. Other than that, I mean, the Vikings, I don't know, somehow they're really good with Sam Darnold. It's not making a whole lot of sense based on, I thought they were going to be a horrible team this year, but
they should be in the rebuild, right? But instead they're 12-2. Like,
yeah,
they're the same record as the Lions, but they should be in a rebuild right now. So it's kind of crazy.
Very crazy. And the Bears are where I expected them. A lot of people thought the quarterback was going to be the next savior, but I've seen him play in college. I knew what he was about. Falcons Raiders was a flop of a game. Again, two teams not doing so hot. Falcons 15, Raiders 9. Kirk Cousins officially demoted as of tonight for Michael Penix Jr., who's going to be the starter next week. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, they draft a guy, I think it was a top 10 pick, definitely early first round, and you got to start him. You can't draft a guy like that and not start him, or it feels like a wasted pick. And Kirk Cousins coming here, it seemed like the stars were aligning for him to ball out in
Yeah.
Atlanta. And he's had some good games, but he's had some pretty shitty ones too. So it's kind of interesting to see that they're even after a win, they're moving on to their rookie quarterback.
Yep. Be interesting to see if he does well or he needs some time like many other rookies. Game of the week, Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, shootout game. I don't know if there was a single ounce of defense played in this entire game. 48 Bills, 42 Lions, a crazy game that kind of not came down to the wire, but came down to, I think a lot closer at the end than what it seemed like it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Big news here is, Josh Allen obviously continues his MVP run. Man, the Lions got killed with injuries in this. So running back David Montgomery and defensive tackle Aleem McNeil, season-ending knee injuries. That sucks, man. That's horrible for the Lions. And then Khalil Dorsey had a season-ending surgery after breaking his leg, and Carlton Davis is also indefinitely out with a jaw injury. Man, I look at the Lions injury report, and it is wild. It's like they're picking up bums off the street to play in Detroit right now.
It's hard to believe, but they're still winning games. Not this one, but they've still been winning games despite injuries, and they keep piling up. But that team's got a lot of fight in them. I think we're still going to see a lot more out of them.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there's a clip that we wanted to show. I think this is a Josh Allen chest pass.
Oh yeah, if anyone's familiar with basketball,
what happened in this? I don't think I actually saw this play.
Oh well, let's get your live reaction here. But if you've seen basketball, if you know basketball, he basically did a basketball chest pass for a touchdown. It got called back by a penalty, so it didn't count. But this is one of the top plays you'll see all season. Go ahead and roll it.
All right, see what happens here. Oh, this is late in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! Wow! What even?
It's like
what even triggered him to do that?
I think he pump faked and started running, and then it was a quicker flick reaction to just do a chest pass than it was to raise the ball all the way up and throw it.
Oh my gosh!
One of the crazier plays you'll see, because he was just going to take off and run, and then he realized there was just a guy in front of him that he had to get the ball over the top of, and he just chest passed it.
It's crazy that got called back, but I don't think I've seen that in a football game before. So he's trying his best for the MVP. And speaking of MVP, one thing that we just wanted to quickly revisit is last week when we talked about MVPs, we forgot to mention someone, right? Who was it?
So we didn't mention Jared Goff, and I think it was really important that somebody commented that on one of our YouTube videos. So Tim, thank you for the comment. And one thing I'll point out here is that Jared Goff has had an amazing season, and he continues to shine. But I do also want to point out that, if you look at the betting odds for the MVP this season, he still is fourth. The betting odds rank Josh Allen, then Lamar, and then Barkley. So we were kind of going off of that, but I appreciate bringing Goff into the discussion because he continues to keep his name in that kind of top four realm. And one of the funny statistics that I saw, I guess it's funny depending on, if you're a fan of Jared Goff or not.
Yeah.
Adam Schefter posted this. The Lions have won a game this season where Goff threw 5 interceptions, and they've now lost a game where he threw 5 touchdowns. So that's kind of a crazy statistic to think about.
That is, yeah. To throw 5 touchdowns and lose a game. To throw 5, what was it, 4 picks or 5 picks?
5 picks one time.
5, yeah, I remember watching that. 5 picks.
That was against the Texans. Yep, and they still won the game.
I was very, very confused at that game when they actually won.
Yeah, but really no updates in the NFL MVP watch other than, we've got a really strong top 4, and right now Jared Allen is still the favorite.
Jared Allen? You mean Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, my gosh.
I'm Jared Allen.
Finding people's names now.
Oh my God. It's Jared Goff plus Josh Allen. Jared Allen. That is actually hilarious. All right, so we're gonna go to in other news. Let's move into in other news. So the first thing in this is probably one of my favorite in other news topics, because when I saw this, I just had to laugh. And yeah, I'll be interested to hear. So you want to introduce this first topic here?
I do. You know that I do.
Oh yeah, let's go.
All right, guys. So in other news, we talk about other sports and we do it a little bit faster. But one of the major storylines from this week was in the state of Ohio. There was a lawmaker who introduced a bill that makes planting the flag at Ohio State Stadium a felony. It actually makes
Mm,
it a felony, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I think there's some stuff to debrief here. I mean, this is as a result of the Michigan rivalry game. Michigan beat
mm,
Ohio and Ohio State. They planted the flag in the middle of the field at the end of the game. But that's nothing new, man. There were, I think, like 4 flag plantings in that same day,
yeah.
maybe 5. There were several flags that were planted that exact same day.
Mhm.
Now, the reason this was brought up is obviously there was a little bit of some fighting going on after the game, right? So, flag gets planted. Ohio State charges the middle of the field. Kind of a fight breaks out. Ended up people were getting maced and pepper sprayed on the field. So I get it. You don't want that. Um, but it does bode some questions. Like, is it appropriate for somebody to try, as a legislator that has nothing to do with sports, to try to intervene with what we could probably boil down to some sportsmanship issues, right? Like, should these be handled internally, or should there be like actual felony charge laws brought to focus to highlight these issues? So
Yeah.
curious, what do you think about that?
I think this is literally the most stupid thing I've ever heard. I mean, listen, I'll be upfront and honest. I hate Ohio State. I can't stand them. This is like the most crybaby thing I've ever heard. Like, you lost a football game, people couldn't control themselves and started fighting, which I mean, it's a heated moment. I'm not saying it's right to fight and hurt other people during football, but like an emotional thing happens, you lose the game, the team tries to plant the flag. This has been done multiple times on multiple fields, Baker Mayfield, all this kind of stuff. And you as a legislator just show how wimpy the state of Ohio is by trying to propose a bill that makes it a felony to plant a flag. Like, get out of here, man. Get out of here. Like, this is literally absurd. This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard for something in sports, for somebody to try to make a law on this topic. This is ridiculous. Ohio State, you're being crybabies. You're being crybabies. Get out of here.
Listen, man, I am a Michigan fan, so I'm clearly biased in this rivalry. I have family that lives in Ohio. That are big Ohio State fans. I'm trying to hold back a little bit, but I'm really not going to.
Send them a clip of this of
This
me.
is this is weak, okay? If I was an Ohio State fan and this bill was proposed in my state, I would be so embarrassed of
Yeah.
my team, of my state. And let's talk about the state here, because they have to put the OHIO in everything that they do, including this stupid bill. It's literally called the OHIO Sportsmanship Act, is what the law is called.
Oh,
Um, I would be literally embarrassed. They were supposed to win this game. I can't remember if it was by 21 or 27. They were supposed
yeah.
to win big. They lost. You know what you can do, Deeb, to prevent someone from planting their flag in center field?
Win.
You can win the damn football game. Stop crying about your loss. You started the fight.
Yeah.
Ohio State started the fight after they lost a game that they should have won by a long shot.
Yeah.
There is no reason for this law to be passed.
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but ridiculous. But all right. Next one I thought was pretty interesting. We're going to show a clip here. But every year they do the different themes for the bowl games, all sorts of different bowls and people who sponsor. And of course, I think this mascot or whatever went viral a couple years ago, but it's like the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So apparently the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the trophy that they have is in a literal actual functioning toaster, which I thought was just kind of crazy. So just showing, here's what the trophy looks like, and then they'll show you in just a second here that they're right there. They just put the look at that. It pops the
That's
Pop-Tart
insane.
out. So
Oh, and then they eat them.
not only do you win a trophy, but you also win a toaster apparently for your team. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The question is if you were the coach and you won this trophy, like, would you be using this at your house? Like, how would you, what would you do if you had a toaster that was a trophy? Like, you'd have to kind of use it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't use it, you're just kind of losing on the value of it, I suppose.
Yeah. If you don't use it, you
You lose it.
right? As they say. All right, so that was a funny one. And then another one that I thought was this is just kind of random, but Arch Manning, so backup Texas quarterback. I read an article that he's poised, depending on kind of what happens this next year or so, to become potentially one of the top NIL earners. And which is kind of interesting because he's a backup quarterback still. I know he plays and he's played, when their other quarterback was hurt, but yeah, I mean, he's potentially supposed to surpass $5 million, it looks like, and he's going to pass other athletes out there like LSU gymnast Livy Dunn. I think that right now, according to what I was seeing, of course, the Colorado gang of Sanders and Hunter are the top earners, earning like greater than $5 million this past year each. So I don't know. What do you think? Like a backup quarterback, obviously his family, his name. Like, do you think that he should be earning that much money if he's a backup quarterback still?
Well, I think there's some layers to this story. Earlier this week, the starting quarterback, Ewers, came out and said that he was considering foregoing the draft to come back and play another season with Texas. Texas, which this is kind of wild to think about, but Texas basically told them that they were ready to move on and make Arch their quarterback. So I don't think he's going to be a backup quarterback next season. What feels bad is that for Quinn Ewers, he's led his team to a great season, and they pretty much have said, like, that's great, you want to come back, but we're not going to want you, so
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing, and the NIL really complicates things. I saw an article today that UNC is ready to pay pretty big for either Ewers or Manning. They're kind of like, whichever one Texas doesn't pay, we'll pay. So, like, we might see some shakeups here with this.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll see if he ends up transferring or what the hell's going to happen. But yeah, that's a lot of money for a backup QB to make. The next one I think you sent me, and it's just a real quick video, but do you want to just talk about that while I pull it up?
Yeah, sometimes we just like to highlight random sports that are happening in the world, and I believe this one might be in Russia. I can't recall, but this is called phone booth boxing, and so enjoy the clip here. It's exactly what it sounds like. People are boxing each other inside of a phone booth, and this is a sport. So
Also, like, how do you not hurt yourself swinging? Like, you don't have like no room.
Listen, I've never seen this before until this week, but I thought it was an interesting random sport that was worth sharing.
Like, I guess I don't understand how you're not hurting your elbows and stuff, like there's no room in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know if I'd ever agree to get into a phone booth to fight someone. I'd have to get paid a lot of money for that, but definitely entertaining. And then we have one last one that, try to change it up a little bit here is, from the golf world, which, we'll be, I think, covering more often as the golf starts to kick off here in kind of the January, February when stuff picks up. But there's a new golf concept starting January 7th called TGL. It's a new 3v3 golf league, which features various teams of PGA Tour players. And I'm actually going to show a video because it's a 1-minute video. I thought it did a really good job of explaining it, but just kind of, curious to hear your thoughts, Scott, on this, because I thought this was an interesting concept. And I actually think this will be really a different way to watch golf, because I know some people say, well, golf's boring, I'm not really into it, but watch this video and let me know what you think.
Okay.
TGL Golf, a new 3-on-3 primetime golf league on ESPN. 6 teams from 6 cities, made up of the top players on the PGA Tour, will play in 2-hour weekly matches, culminating in playoffs and a championship. There are 2 sessions. The first, triples, a 9-hole 3 versus 3 alternate shot. The second, singles, 6 holes of players going head-to-head. Each hole is worth 1 point. If tied at the end, an overtime determines the win. Set in a first-of-its-kind venue, the players head into a massive screen, 20 times the size of a normal simulator screen, from up to 35 yards out. The short game will be played in an area larger than 4 basketball courts, on a tech-infused green with an adaptable surface to create hole-to-hole variations. TG will also bring the golf a shot clock, a ref, a timeout to ice the golfer, a hammer to raise this, and the players are all mic'd up to get you in on the action. This is TGL, presented by SoFi.
on ESPN.
Bro, okay, first impressions, because I haven't seen that yet, is that
Yeah.
that looks like a really entertaining way to watch golf, and I love the silly stuff, like icing the golfer and
Yeah.
mic'd up, like, I'm definitely gonna be following along with that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it, like, almost kinda makes it more, like a team sport, but then, yeah, there's, like, other aspects to it, they're mic'd up so you can hear them talking trash. I don't know, it's like it's a different way that I think will make it more entertaining and interactive for people who have not watched before or maybe kinda on the fence about it. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious to see. It's supposed to start, I think, January 7th, they said, so, yeah, we'll have
Well,
to
we'll
see
have a
how.
lot to come. Yeah, we'll be following along with that and definitely reporting on it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we are at the halftime pour. You want to tell everyone what the halftime pour is, and we can go ahead and get into that?
Yeah, so the halftime pour is a part of our episode where we actually open up a bourbon. We do a quick pour and kind of talk about why we chose it, talk about bourbon, and just kind of sip on it and enjoy it. So I'll start tonight. I'm the one I've popped open. Oh, you can barely see it. Let me put it. I've got the Knobs
There
Creek
you
single barrel. It's a select bourbon, so this one is actually a store pick, and it's from the Wine and Cheese Place in the St. Louis, Missouri area.
Hmm.
And the reason I chose this, I talk all the time about how I like sharing bourbon with friends, and this one was actually gifted to me from my buddy Jordan back in St. Louis. So shout out Jordan. I love Knobs Creek single barrel. It's one of my bourbons that really got me into bourbon, and this store pick is freaking delicious. So shout out Jordan. Thank you for sharing this, and we'll be sharing it with the podcast.
Hell yeah. I still remember too when we were in Kentucky and you bought that bottle of I think it was Knob Creek right at that bar. That guy was like he was kind of like rizzing you up a little bit and then like suddenly you were buying a bottle from him. It
Well,
was like, "Oh, I have these for sale." And you were like, "I'd love one of those."
it was a limited time bottle, and it's gone now, but it was worth every penny.
All right. So for me, unfortunately, I lost our bet, which was for the game of the week. I bet on the Lions, you bet on the Bills, and so my the reason why I'm drinking this is because losing the bet was I had to pick the cheapest bourbon that I have in my collection, and that's what I have to drink for this week. So, believe it or not, my pick for tonight is Buffalo Trace.
Ooh, okay.
Which
Jeez.
is the cheapest bourbon in my collection. This is, I think, what, like $30 maybe MSRP. I have to double check depending on where you live, but a very solid cheap bourbon. So actually, Scott, I don't think I'm the loser of this bet. I think I'm maybe the winner of this bet. And
I don't think you lost. I've had some very solid pick. Yeah.
I don't know if I lose this one. So let me get a pour going here and we can do our cheers and then we can do our question 2 of the week. Do you want to talk about the question of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to tee it up here. So everyone who's listening, feel free to comment on any of our socials with your answer. But what bourbon would you pour to celebrate a championship win for your favorite team, and why does it fit the occasion? Deeb, I'm going to let you answer first.
So I could actually have this scenario happen, crossing my fingers, but I think if the Oregon Ducks somehow are, victorious, go to the national championship and win, I think the bourbon that I would need to pour to celebrate that would probably be Weller 12. And I think it fits the occasion because, Weller 12, it's been aged for 12 years. It's a hard bottle to find. It's not something that's, easy to locate. And it's just one of those things where, Oregon just likes to take their time when, they're trying to win championships. So if it's the occasion, it's a long aged bottle. It's one of the hardest ones to find, just like a championship for them.
I love it. Mine personally, this might sound gimmicky, but mine would probably be the Pappy Van Winkle 15-year, and there's a reason for it. My favorite team, as I mentioned in episode 1, is the St. Louis Blues. We won our first Stanley Cup in 2019. It was right before the pandemic hit. And there was a player on the team, Robbie Fabry. Everyone else is kind of skating around doing whatever. Robbie Fabry had a bottle of Pappy 15 on the ice and was drinking it straight from the barrel, or not from the barrel, straight from the bottle, which ironically we recreated during my wedding day, if you recall that day, where I was drinking a bottle of Pappy straight from the bottle. So that I think fits with my favorite team because I've seen it done before, and I would love to do it myself alongside of, whoever's on the ice. So that's mine.
Hell yeah. I love that. Well, cheers, my friend. Halftime pour.
Cheers.
Take a nice cheers. All right, so we're going to move into community callouts. So this is just a short segment where we like to appreciate people. And I think we wanted to give some shout outs to some individuals. So do you want to do the shout outs for the individuals? And then I think the other thing we were going to do is we wanted to just pick one of our social media platforms and, just give some shout outs to a couple followers, maybe people that have interacted. So you want to do those, and then I'll pull up the Instagram to
Yeah.
shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. So this first one, it's same account or same person, 2 different accounts. Bearded Sensei, Dark Dragoon. Appreciate the insights for the Heisman Trophy on Twitter, kind of following along with that journey, and also talking about the big hits in the Big 12 championship games. So thank you for engaging with us, and please keep following along because we have a lot to talk about. Shout out to Tim from Michigan, talking about Jared Goff as that MVP candidate, and also commenting about SMU really deserving that playoff spot that they've gotten, which I think we both agree with.
Yeah.
QT Lakey, my boy Dylan, thank you for the comment talking about us having a great first episode. We truly appreciate everyone who's followed along, and thank you for commenting on that as well. And then we had a lot of feedback on our TikTok video with the Trevor Lawrence slide where he was hit and knocked out of the game. So thank you to Carl, Eric, Schmeier, Rob Stone. Thank you guys all for commenting, and I hope we continue to follow our journey along.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys, and cheers. For Instagram, just wanted to give a couple people shout outs for being some of the very first followers for our page. So we have Raven, Eli, Travis, Kristen, Kyle, Anthony, Amanda, Theo, Chance, Kenzie, Chelsea, Nausea River Podcast, Wayne, Nightlife Games, Crazy Corey, Danielle, Lissy, Mats, George, Danny, CFB Overtime, Ryan, Travis, George, Brian, Matt, Aurelius, Ron, Sports Faithful, Dylan, Mrs. Chops, and Josh Stump. Thank you guys so much for being some of our very first followers on IG and for your support thus far. So we appreciate you all, and as always, cheers, friends.
Yeah, cheers to everybody. Listen, right now, with us just getting started, we'd love hearing from you. We're happy to include any questions, comments, hot takes that you might have as a part of our show. And as we just showed out, we'd love to demonstrate or to give call outs for those who have engaged with us. So keep an eye out for our socials, engage with us. We'll keep bringing the content, and we hope that you keep following along. And like I said, the journey's better with you. So thank you.
All right, we're going to move into Bourbon Blunders, one of my favorite segments where we just show you clips of things not going well in sports. So this first one, I thought we kind of had one of these last week that was, I don't want to say exactly the same, but somewhat similar. But this is going to be a big hit. So let's take a look at this crazy hit from this week in some random football game. I don't even remember what the teams are. Boom! Oh my goodness, look at that. Oof. Like that guy, there's no wind left in that guy.
Yeah.
Look at this. Oh, look at his head.
Oh my gosh.
What happened to the ball? The defense scored?
Yep. So the ball popped out, defense recovered it, and ran it for a touchdown. So that's a pretty big blunder there.
Oh my gosh. And then I think this next one was a Colts interception play that was
this one is solid.
Thing.
Yes. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he might be wrong.
Wow. Well, I told you that Denver Broncos defense is really good. Next one we want to show is a hockey one. So I'll let you explain this one as I pull it up.
Yeah, this play comes from back in September. It's a bit of a throwback, but quite a blunder. And it was my team, the St. Louis Blues, playing against Utah. Utah has the puck on a delayed penalty, which means that they can have an extra player. They pull their goalie. And as soon as the Blues touch the puck, the play ends. So very, very low risk here, unless you do what they did. Go ahead and hit it.
All right, let's see.
So he tries to pass it to his guy on the boards. His guy doesn't get it.
Oh, there's no goalie.
And
no.
Because the goalie's pulled. The Blues literally can't score on that play because if they touch the puck, then the play dies. But Utah did it for them, and they put it in their own net.
Sheesh. Well, that's too bad. But you know what? When you pull the goalie, that's the risk you take, right? I mean, that could happen.
It's minimal, but yeah, I guess that could happen.
And then the next one was, it's kind of two for one, but this happened twice, but pretty much just people dropping the football before they score, and
that was a fumble, and the Broncos got the ball, and that was the start of them scoring. I think it was 23 straight. They really took over the game after that.
That sucks. And that happened in 2 different games, 2 different players, etc.
Yep.
So
the Bengals had a defensive player. I can't remember if it was a fumble or an interception. Same thing. They dropped the ball early, and that did not count for a touchdown either. So you'd think at a professional level, these guys would maybe carry the ball a few yards in before they dropped it. But
yeah,
we see this happening from time to time. It's kind of hard to believe.
Yep. And then the last person on the list, or people on the list for the blunders, is us. We tried to film a video for social media of our reaction live to the Heisman winner, and guess what? I forgot how to use my phone, and I didn't record our audio. So I did a FaceTime with you, didn't put the audio on for us talking, and so it was just a silent video of us reacting. So we did post that on our social media page. So I just tried to, make a comedy video out of it. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. But, we're on the Bourbon Blunder list for this coming week, this past week. Geez, you can't talk.
Yeah. And expect some more blunders from us, while we're learning, while we're figuring things out. But, that's part of the experience. And hopefully we can all have a good laugh over that.
Yeah. So we're going to move into our single barrel picks. So this is where we tell you some of our picks for the week. We talk a little bit about some betting, some picks, and we'll also post some of those things on social media. So you want to talk a little bit about the college football playoff bracket and just maybe let people know what we're doing with that?
Yeah, so if you tuned in last week, you would have heard about this, but college football playoffs do start this weekend. And we've got a bracket pool link. It's free to join. We'll be kind of following it along on our podcast. You need to register by December 20th to be included because the games are going to be starting this weekend. If you do register in time, just follow the link. It's going to be posted in our description here for the podcast. And it's also posted on our X or Twitter account. And we'll keep following along, but shout out to the 7 people who are currently in it, including myself and Deeb.
Yeah.
We would love to see, if you think you can beat our picks, come beat us. I've got some pretty controversial picks in mind, so we'll see what happens. But we'd love to follow along these playoffs and kind of be able to highlight some of you as well as we follow that journey.
Yeah, and put your money where your mouth is. This isn't for money, but if you think you can pick better than us, let's see it. And I think that's kind of the fun part of this is getting involved and trying to make the picks and see if you're right, and then maybe throwing it in our face, later on. So I don't know if we need to necessarily revisit our first round picks. We went over that last time, so maybe we can continue on, and maybe we can talk about the NFL, some key NFL games for this coming week.
Yeah, I think before we talk about what's coming, I do just want to highlight that on our socials, we did post one moneyline parlay bet this past weekend. Shout out to anyone who followed along. We did hit it. We're going to be kind of slowly rolling out some of our maybe preferred picks. But this one, if you bet $50, you would have actually returned 151. So you made over $100 if you hit it, and it did hit. So congrats if anyone did follow that. We do not offer gambling advice. Yeah. We're not gambling professionals by any means. We want you to bet responsibly, but we're going to post some stuff from time to time that you can follow along with. So that one hit. We'll have at least one more this coming Sunday. So, if you feel like checking it out, please do. But just know that gambling is always gambling. So at your own risk, feel free to tail our bets.
Wow, you're so lawyerly when you talk about betting. I appreciate it. You're covering our
CYA.
But yeah, no, I thought that was exciting. And it was a cool way to, again, get people thinking about some of those bets if they're interested in that. So NFL games for this week. So just a quick recap of last week. Both of us went 3-1 in our picks. So for me, the Lions lost. For you, the Steelers lost, but we hit on all the rest of them. So how about you go through and we can make our picks for key games only. We're not picking every single game. We just try to give you guys some key games with some betting lines, right? Like your odds or whatever it is.
Yep, it's the spread. So the first one is Broncos versus Chargers. The Chargers are 3-point favorites. And I'll let you choose first.
Broncos.
Okay, well, I'm going Chargers on that one. So that's a difference right there.
Yep.
Up next, we got the Texans versus the Chiefs. And believe it or not, Texans, as of the time of the recording here, they're minus 2.5. So they're favorites. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with the Texans.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Okay. Up next, we got Steelers versus Ravens division game. Ravens are hot right now, but both teams have played well all season. Ravens -6, so 6-point favorites. What do you got?
I got Ravens on that.
I got to go Ravens too. There's no way I can't do that. Vikings versus Seahawks, with Vikings being a 2.5 point favorite away. So what do you got?
It's Geno Smith's hurt for the Seahawks. Vikings.
You have to go Vikings. All right.
Yeah.
Now, up next, we have actually our game of the week here. And I thought of a fun way that we can maybe do this is to flip a coin. Whoever goes first gets first pick, and the other one is just stuck with the other one, okay? So I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but I'm going to flip this coin.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, hold on. Let me fix my screen. And we're going to flip it. I got tails.
I was going to say, you're going to call it, or is it me?
All right, so you get to choose first.
Okay, so and the game of the week is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, game of the week is going to be Eagles versus Commanders, and the Eagles are -3.
I'm going to take. Man, I don't want to lose again. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Okay, so you have Eagles +3.
Yeah,
they can lose by 3. Well, then I'm stuck with the Commanders -3, but that's actually opposite way. I'm so sorry. Eagles are -3, so they have.
I was going to
by
say.
3.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was going to go with Commanders anyway, so that actually works well for me. So give me the Commanders, and then let's make a bet again. You chose last week.
Yeah.
Okay, our bet this week is going to be that the loser of the game of the week has to post on social media a clip of them trying to impersonate somebody, some sort of an impersonation, and the winner can give them some options from who to choose. Is that cool?
Oh my gosh, yes, because I definitely am looking forward to winning this one.
Well, we'll see. I'm on a roll.
Yeah. But
Cool.
Yep, that sounds good. You got a deal.
All right. Well, that's the single barrel picks of the week. You guys feel free to comment and follow along and tell us what you agree with or disagree with. We're interested to hear what you have to say.
All right, we're going to move into the 2-minute warning, closing out on the final stretch here. So 2-minute warning is coming up. So basically, we're just going to go back and forth. We're going to have a timer on the screen for 2 minutes. We're going to run our 2-minute offense and ask each other some really random rapid-fire questions that are mainly sports-related, kind of like a hot seat. So you want to pull up the timer, and what do you think? Maybe I can ask the first question. We'll start with me and then go to you.
That works. Go ahead and get started.
All right. More random celebrity appearance in sports. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as an MLB pitcher or Snoop Dogg as an NHL enforcer?
Well, I think Snoop Dogg actually might be able to ice skate. So I'm going to say The Rock as an MLB pitcher would probably be very much more random.
He'd have a low flexibility. All right, go ahead.
What would be the weirder Super Bowl halftime idea? A mascot-only dance-off or a full-on sports commentator karaoke night?
A mascot dance-off would be pretty hilarious. So I have to go with that one.
All right. What do you got?
Better new rule. QBs must play one series as a kicker every game, or offensive linemen must celebrate every first down with a TikTok dance.
Oh my gosh. Like practically I can imagine kickers or quarterbacks not being good at kicking at all, but I'm going to go with the offensive linemen having to celebrate every single first down with TikTok dances because that would be hilarious.
Probably get old too.
Yeah. All right. Better dunk contest upgrade. Allowing trampolines for all the players or replacing the ball that they dunk with a pumpkin.
I think allowing trampolines because that would be crazy to see the dunks that happen.
Yep, I agree.
In my opinion. Better Christmas sports promo. The Grinch replacing the umpire in an MLB game or Santa Claus officiating an NFL game.
I'm going to go. I think the Grinch and an MLB umpire would be like, actually, that fits the role very well.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting to see that.
Which athlete playing a different sport would be best? Caitlin Clark playing volleyball or Angel Reese playing soccer?
I don't know. I feel like Caitlin Clark might be good at volleyball. So Angel Reese playing soccer would probably be pretty funny. I feel like she'd like fall down and stuff.
Could be.
Yeah, so I'd have to go with that. And then last one, weirdest post-game celebration. A team that requires players to recite poetry in the locker room after every win, or one that insists on synchronized swimming routine in the team pool?
I'm gonna go with the poetry in the locker room. You got to. You got to.
Jeez, that was a mouthful. And with that, that is the hot seat.
Time for the hot seat.
I mean, the 2-minute warning. And we're on to the last call. So I'll turn it over to you for the last call.
Yep. So just like last week with the last call, we just want to thank you guys for listening in. Obviously, this is a brand new adventure for us during a very busy season of time. So thank you for following along with the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Please do check out the description and join that college football playoff bracket. We'd love to have you in there. And then, Dave, any other reminders you want to give out?
Yeah, just, again, appreciate it. Love you guys for, following us on socials and any subscriptions and stuff like that. If you are on YouTube or other areas, those are super helpful to us, as we continue down this journey. And, make sure to bookmark that website, singlebarrelsports.com, so that you can access the episodes and all that kind of stuff pretty easily. But other than that, I really hope everybody has a wonderful holiday upcoming and gets to, hopefully spend some time with loved ones and others. And again, appreciate you all. And thank you so much for continued support throughout our journey together. So that's all I have. Cheers, Scott.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you, Dave. And thank you everybody else. And we will have an episode next week. So enjoy looking forward to that after Christmas, and we'll see you guys then. Cheers.
Cheers.